Hello, I'm Jeremy Rivera, your Unscripted podcast host. I'm here with Joel Miller, who's going to introduce his company. He's going to introduce himself, but I want him to do so through the lens of why we should trust him as an expert.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, my name is Joel Miller, and my identical twin brother and I run the SkyFloor, and we do digital marketing. I mean, that's sort of like the umbrella, right? Digital marketing. But really, what we've been kind of focusing in on in this latest season is that we are problem solvers. We help you get to an outcome and a goal. And so we're not just here to push some buttons or apply your style guide to a website or whatever. We want to actually know what you want to achieve and then do whatever we can to help you get there. And so we really work across tons of industries. We do all kinds of work really centered around the web, um, but it's wide ranging. One of the things that comes to mind immediately is that we had an ad in the Bears game day brochure, that they pass out when you come into the Chicago Bears Stadium. And that's distinctly not digital, right? But there was a digital component to help our client achieve their goal.
That I like the connection of the marketing strategy and this is an evolution I had to go through myself with my own marketing and with the services that I provide of kind of evolving past, oh hey, what I do is I edit meta titles and I build backlinks and
Right.
generate content. No, like there was a fantastic interview that I did where he talked about like this pyramid of value, and at the
Yes.
bottom it's like executing on something specific. The next tier up is saving you time, and then a tier above that is enabling you to meet your goal or to become who or what you want to be.
Right.
And from that framework, it's like the lowest here. Yeah, you can tell them that thing, or you can tell them that next level of I'm going to save you the time that would have taken you to do X, Y, or Z. But really, that highest here is enabling them to do or be the thing that they want to be, whether that's a successful business person, whether that's a hybrid philanthropist and business person, or the highest selling, person within the team, whatever it may be, enabling the business to do that. That's a much better way to go about, you know, and making sure that your product and service delivers on enough value that you're going to be hired back, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I love that. I mean, especially in the AI era that we're not only entered into, but living amongst, and there's a lot of fear and loathing, and I'm not sure. We'll find out how true any of that is, but what you're saying is a key distinctive, right? Like that's a thing that a computer will never be able to do quite the same way that you or I can when we get to really truly partner with a client and say, all right, we know where you've been, where you're going, and we can use some of these tools to help get there, but like the human ingenuity to help you achieve those outcomes so you can be who you want to be, that's going to be a distinctly human task still.
And I think it kind of unveils a little bit of the lie as we're in that front runner portion. I saw an
Yeah.
amazing graphic that showed of all of the millions of people, it was like 20 lines and three-fourths of them were gray and they had never used any sort of AI tool
Right.
whatsoever. And then there was, yellow lines and or green lines of people that had tried it casually, and then down in the bottom right corner, a number of millions were those who use it daily. And
Right.
we're in that vanguard, that
Right.
forward element, adopting those things. But there's definitely a Scoble moment of like being the guy who's wearing the Google glasses while taking a shower. Like we're so adopting this technology, it's totally happening. It wasn't happening, and you
Right.
were embarrassing, because you were thinking 4 or 5 steps ahead of the people that really needed to mainline accept it before it was useful. But the lie behind that I'm talking about is that AI can do anything. That
Right.
you can achieve any goal. You just feed in the right prompt, and you're going to get the right output. From I would say, I've talked to other GEO or generative search engine optimization guys like Chris Tweeten, and there's always a big gap between
Yeah,
what's promised and what you can really deliver. There is a lot more that you can deliver in terms of capability. What's been some of your dilemmas that you've solved and some of the dilemmas that remain after you analyzed what are currently available tools to help provide solutions that have an AI element?
sure. I mean, a story that immediately comes to mind is employing a custom GPT for sales enablement for one of our clients. Again, not websites, right? But in the digital space, and how can we help them achieve their goal? They're having some sales issues. And so I listened to, and I think this is probably, uh, it's kind of built into the answer. I listened to 30, 40 hours of phone calls, something like that, of incoming lead calls and to their entirety, right? And I just sat there taking notes. And granted, I could have an AI just analyze transcripts and then tell me what it thinks the weaknesses are. And some of those things will be true, but it's not going to understand the tone of the conversation. It's not going to necessarily understand how that one pause came across. So there's all these, again, human elements that I need to parse through to get the outcome that we want. But then I took all those things and put it into this custom GPT. And then using CallRail, we have it automatically grade incoming calls. So it's based on the human work, but the AI does the thing the computer is good at, which is now saying, all right, here's the 6 categories that need help. How did they perform?
You're right. In the analysis, it mostly is going to analyze the actual text. It won't, you might end up with a call where if you looked at the transcript, you have no idea where it went wrong.
Right.
It
Yep.
looks like, oh, I hit A, B, C, we said this, this, and this, and I can't identify why they didn't do it. But if you listen to the call, you could hear the hesitation of the response request after friction point B. Oh, it's
Right.
too expensive, or it doesn't have enough seats. But they didn't say that it didn't have enough seats. It was just an in an appropriate silence that you can
Right.
feel. Like if you've ever done sales
Yes.
or done I mean, if you're in SEO or marketing, you've always done sales of yourself, but you kind
Right.
of get that moment of like, oh, I just missed it. I They have an expectation or they're not saying, but I'm not getting it. So there's
Yeah.
definitely subtext that humans are programmed to understand, right?
Right. Yeah, that's true. And I mean, I immediately think of, I've always been fascinated by words or phrases maybe that they mean different things depending on the tone. And and so I mean I can't think of all of the probably some of my better examples, but immediately as you were talking about it, I was thinking of someone who might say, "Well, that's great," or they might right they might say, "Well, that's just great." Those are two different things. But if you're just analyzing text, it might just
Mhm.
say, "That was an excellent moment in the call where the person seemed pleased."
That is true. It's My friend Matt Brooks at SEO says that ChatGPT is your least trained but most popular customer support representative. And I've
Right.
definitely come across that moment where it's giving up answers that it's beyond its capabilities. It's also that it I've found, and maybe you can back this up, if you're asking for answers, you will immediately bias an LLM
Oh
because
yeah.
it cannot be objective in its response out of the
Right.
box. It is an answer engine and can therefore, uh, it's that wave particle. If you observe it, it changes it, and
Right.
so you have, in order to get it to do a prompt, you have to give it the input, which then influences the output.
Oh yeah. I think that's one of the and maybe I mean we all see you have to download these 120 prompts that will completely change how you use blah blah blah, and there's always some interesting stuff in there, but I think that's like one of the ways again that the human component has to be part of it. And you're right about the leading edge people, I mean, we will likely have an advantage for some time because we'll have used it so much that we innately start to understand how to get better results because we feel that tension of, oh, I know when I phrase it like this, it's going to give me a certain output because it thinks that's what I want. And I actually don't want that some of the time, right? I don't just need a
Yes.
yes man. Yeah.
Yeah. Until GPT is programmed to grow a spine.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yes, for sure.
So tell me about your current interplay between classic SEO. I feel so old. Traditional SEO marketing, but it really is, like a lot of the fundamentals are still there. We
Right,
have this trifold system within LLM tools that, it's got its training database, which you can then influence with SEO. And then
right,
you've got when it doesn't or can't find the answer, it's going to do searches. And so
right.
in some ways, GPTs and Claude, etc., are just fancy wrappers for Google
Right.
results.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's been changing for a lot of our clients, like rapidly in the last 4 months. And I don't know if you're seeing this. I'd be curious to hear some of your uh, what you're seeing too in your business because we're still like at the edge of figuring out exactly how to handle the drop, for example, in organic search results because of AI overview. And we're seeing that it's been significant for some of them, not everyone. It kind of depends on what the content is, but we're seeing uh, some in a lot of cases an increase in impressions, but the clicks are down 40%. And it's interesting because we're kind of right live in the middle of figuring this out for them because it's also shifting around a lot. Um, but you're right. I mean, there's a lot of like key components that are still the same. In fact, in a way, it almost just means you have to sharpen up some of the things that like it might not just be as easy. And again, that's a simplification, but it might not be as easy as you just need more interesting, better content more frequently. Now we have to get a little bit more strategic.
Yes. Um, from what I've been seeing, it comes down to impacts by vertical,
Hmm.
working with, a radio station. Um, Publishers are getting hit harder and
Yes.
harder, which is, Google is progressively more and more willing to poison its own well of,
Right.
and disincentivize again another layer, um, and over monetize. There's a current lawsuit that's going on that's revealing even more of Google's
Yes.
monopolistic tendencies and absolute willingness to rig, pay-per-click uh, bidding systems to maximize profitability
Right.
and then restack and restack SERPs again and again with pushing organic. Oh, there's so many categories now where organic results are you can't even get an organic result
Oh,
on the first page.
yeah. You're like, yeah, here's and we're doing this a lot, and clients are too, of course, which they're running searches and they're like, all right, so this keyword combination, of course, it also might change based on a lot of other factors, but generally they're getting here's where we get AI overview first, and then down below that are some place results, and then down below that are the next group of sponsored results. And you're right. Sometimes the organic stuff is maybe two of them show up at the bottom, maybe not at all, and you have to go to
Yeah.
another page if you're ever to see it. I mean, we're seeing this in ad buying too, because a lot of the keywords that were working for some of our Google Ads clients are no longer showing any at all because that's where they're putting this kind of uh, the overview content, and so we're having to shift. And it kind of sounds like logical, but we're having to shift more to the like high intent combinations, like you know, blank blank near me, that kind of stuff. It has to be we're buying that more than we ever used to because
It's
otherwise it doesn't even show up. It's crazy.
yeah, I think a big strategy analysis piece is just dissecting and understanding the SERP space in a deeper way. You can't just rely on search volume numbers anymore. You have
Right.
to understand the different ways that it's slicing, and it's also driving on the back end. Hey, I need to work better with my email teams to actually drive value out of those secondary captured audience systems, so I can use social media to capture audience, which then I can direct to these pages and get them to convert, as opposed
Right.
to it's like fishing in ponds that you created versus going out
Right.
to the ocean.
Right.
And those type of demand generation systems, I think, are more necessary now for you to have that interdiscipline capability as a marketer more broadly, rather than just singularly a Google reverse engineer.
Right. No, totally. It's because at the end of the day, like the one thing, especially if you're collecting information like emails, um, audience can't be just taken away if it's your audience by whatever the next thing is that Google's going to do, uh, or any of them, right? Like if I'm capturing that information over time, I still control that. And so that's a big thing that we're looking at as far as helping our clients understand, all right, I know you're like viewing this more in almost a traditional lens from the last however many years. Like you put some money into it and you get some results and it's leads. And it's like, yeah, 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 that's good. But what if we actually started building you an audience that you could take with you no matter what's going on and get some people to actually follow along with what you're doing. But like I don't know about you, but some of that like requires personality. Like someone has to
Yeah,
kind of be out
a
there.
face. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because like LinkedIn, right? They're not what is it? Something like 8 times more likely if you post something on your personal page versus a business page to get viewed and clicked and read. And you're
yeah.
like, so that's been a bit tough because we have to try to talk to some of our clients into being out there more than they want to be.
That's true. It is a strange time. It's interesting because the more that AI gets pushed to the fore, the more that humans are wanting people to pass the sniff test,
Right.
of like, are you human?
Right.
How legit? And my wife was mentioning this, like she just was working, she just picked up an apprenticeship as a tattoo apprentice, and she was
Okay.
talking about how um, the with more and more videos that have come out in the industry, it's almost like the more raw and unfiltered your footage is when you're in Snapchat, people
Right.
are responding a lot more to it than,
Hmm.
1 or 2 years ago. You couldn't get anywhere unless you had an incredibly overly polished,
Right.
video that you're releasing, super professional quality, but it got subverted. Like, it was so profitable that then they started creating AI processes, and now
Right.
those types of videos that were super popular and picking up all the traffic aren't performing because people are not interacting as much, because they're like, oh, so and so is they're just an AI avatar. Like
Right.
2 years ago, you go back to the quality of the video, and it's one person in share talking to the video, saying X,
Right.
Y, or Z. But now it's such a different game because, along comes AI, and uh, they have the ability to swap in anybody, and these mass marketing tools realize the value of that niche. But now that's not exactly. It's like, that's AI. I think they said that new gen alpha slang was, oh, that's so AI, of like, oh, that's AI, as in like slop, as in like
Right.
it's not trusted. And so
Right.
it's interesting that those proponents of new technology that most want it to become just kind of the default, of like, this is accepted. We're just going to do this so people accept it, has pushed such a poor quality product out there that now AI is synonymous with junk, with
Right.
synonymous with low quality, synonymous with no effort. Like the most advanced technology in the world is producing the lowest quality junk out there.
Right.
And it's just this inverted thing that I find actually kind of a lot of Schadenfreude out of a lot of like I'm enjoying your embarrassment of like you created this culture you pushed out, keep pushing. It's like the Jeff Goldblum moment of you kept asking the question of if you could and never stopped
Right.
to ask the
Or you
question if you
should.
should.
Right. No, it's true. And it's funny, like, I mean, I don't even, I'm not sure what's going to happen with this, but scrolling through Facebook right now, specifically, is just, it's kind of a nightmare. Because you're like
Yeah.
every other, I'm trying to think of the last time I saw a real clip. I mean, there's some in there, but like mostly it's stuff that's too outrageous to be true. And then, they hide it in that next line, see more. And it's like, these are created by with AI for your entertainment, and you're just like, well, I already knew that because none of this that's not something that actually ever happens. But like, what's going to happen? Like, does Facebook start to monitor that and try to stop it from happening? Do they even care as long as we're engaged and angry about it and commenting? I'm not sure, but it's kind of irritating right now.
It's definitely a time in the market, and it's for prognosticators and those people who are in that lower acceptance quadrant where more and more people are going to be looking to us for those answers to map out for them how they play
Yes.
in those playgrounds. Um, I'm curious, what are some of the things that when you're bringing clients on in the past 6 months that you've had to add to your stack of analysis or processes to kind of cope with our cope with our current reality?
Yeah, a big part of that is the GEO concept. I mean, everyone wants to know how you're going to help us show up in an AI search. And they were saying that before they saw the organic dips, but now that conversation's getting louder. So that's one big piece, is adding that in. I think another one is just navigating the AI landscape with intelligence. I mean, a lot of people are curious about it, but they use it very at a very cursory level. And they know, because of our personalities and the space that we live in, that this is something that we spend a lot of time with and considering. So they are just looking for guidance on how should we be viewing this, what should we be using it for, and what should we not be using it for. And and so we've been able to step in some with some of our clients and say, all right, here's what we think, here's how we see it working, here's the stuff it's good at, here's the areas that we don't want to use it, and you probably shouldn't be using it either. So I think it's like a cautious optimism. it's a it's a it's a I don't want to be the person who's out there saying that it's the world's falling apart because of it. I think we shouldn't ignore it. We should be using some of these things, but we see more that our clients are nervous about it than they're excited about it. So like conversely, we get to come in and say, yeah, but here's some things you might want to think about utilizing.
It Yes, it's definitely there are at least two edges to that sword. If
Yeah.
not, it's like two swords stuck together. Three times as many other sides of the sword. It
Right,
cuts this
right.
many ways. It is interesting because for every downside there's an upside, and for every upside there's a downside. It's like
Yes,
that
yeah.
the funhouse mirror of pros and cons, both societally and functionally as a business to navigate. So yeah, I can definitely see those consulting moments of concern, and it's it's interesting to me, as I view different, you know, uh, types of businesses and how they're uniquely impacted
Yeah.
in very specific ways and niches. What are some of the niches and industries that you've been working with, and what have been some of your answers that you've been giving to clients for their marketing issues in this? Again, I repeat myself, but
Yeah.
in this very age.
Right. Well, one of our biggest clients that we've been working with for a long time is a tutoring company. And so they do ACT, SAT, test prep, and then academic tutoring too. They're called Academic Approach. Highly recommend. They were great. But um, it's interesting because they have a lot of their competitors are using AI tools for tutoring even to replace that. And so, they're coming out with like subscriptions. Use our AI tutor, and it's now whatever it is, $35 a month versus this hourly rate. And but that's like distinctly something that we're deciding not to do as consulting them and as we talk about it, because it's just not their business model. It's
Yeah.
their business model is high touch, very customized service, and people have to do that. Even though something like an AI can probably teach you a lot of the basics, it's not going to understand exactly, what your student is going through, how they suffered through the first two or three practice tests and had to, you know, figure out how to improve their executive function, how to not just learn some tips and tricks, but to actually like hone parts of their skills that will actually apply to like their academic careers and potentially their college careers too. Right? It's like it's I guess avoiding the shortcuts for the personalized, customized service, which is how we try to run our business too. So it's like it's very close to home. We don't want to cookie cut anything.
I did an interview last year with somebody who worked in the education space, and or actually it was 2 years ago, and the concerns were kind of pre-GPT of, hey, students are using Wikipedia
Right.
for answers, and they can't cite that, and now we had at that time, even in that conversation, a major plagiarism issue.
Right.
So I would imagine, the irony of an education program turning around and offering AI as tutoring is just kind of, but you're right that it is a business model proposition too, of like,
Right.
oh, hey, well, that's actually SaaS. You're offering a
Yeah.
SaaS for
Right.
a human, custom human element. So that's probably not going, that's not such a long-term solution, because the problem with SaaS is that it iterates and evolves.
Right.
Then you got to keep on that and keep them addicted to the platform. It's got to give more value, and you need a lot more subscribers to
Right.
keep up with that business model. So yeah, I would also be recommending finding ways to highlight the value of that human participation. And I think that's going to probably be like the ultimate response in the next couple of years, is a focus of a human renaissance of like,
I think
okay,
so too.
these new tools can do all this cool stuff, but what can these silly humans do? We can do so much more, you know?
Right. Yeah, I know. I think it's super interesting because um I think there will be a higher value, almost like if you could level the playing field. Like let's just say at its best that AI as a tool will level the playing field so that everyone can bring whatever idea they have to market pretty fast, and let's say it's decently good, right? It keeps getting better and better. Cloud Code can one shot you any idea you have, uh, and you can launch it. We're still going to end up with the same problem, which is why does anyone care, and how do they even know that you made this thing? And that's
Yep.
always been the issue. That's why marketing is important. And And so that and audience is important. So I think it's like in a way it's going to change the conversation because the human element is going to actually be the most important thing. It always was, but it highlights it when there's not all these other maybe gates in the way, like do you have enough money to make the thing? Or I think a video for this, right? Like
Yep.
if Seed Dance 2 or 3 or 36 or whatever it's going to be, we can make a whole Hollywood grade movie in 3 minutes. I don't know how fast it'll be, but is the story good?
Yeah.
Is it what do people, are they interested in it? And if they are, they're probably interested in it because of the person who came up with the story, right? Like that still has to be there. There has to be some kind of uh human element again. It's not just type in a bunch of prompts and press go and then we all go, yeah, yeah, I'll subscribe to that. I'll that's art. That's something I care about. No, because we still want to know who's making it and why and what's all this like underlying things that machines just don't innately have on their own.
Absolutely agree. Let's kind of wrap up here. If people are interested in the human element that is Joel Miller, where can they find you? Do you hang out on Substack? Are you on a LinkedIn guy? If they are interested in learning more about you, where can they find you?
Yeah, we on our website we have a blog that I write frequently. You can subscribe there, and then I'm on LinkedIn as well, and I also post some of my content to Medium. So if you look up the SkyFloor or Joel Miller on Medium, you'll find us for sure.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for your time and unique human insight.
Thank you for having me.